One thing that people often ask me is a home inspector required for a mortgage? So in this video, I want to talk a little bit about home inspections, whether required, and my recommendations. So to answer the question right away, I'm not going to string you along. Is a home inspector required for mortgage? The home inspector is actually not required for mortgage approval. Now, that being said, I highly, and I said highly multiple times for a reason, highly recommend that you get one. In fact, it could possibly save your life. And that's actually the inspiration for this video today. I could tell you a quick story about what happened yesterday. My veteran borrower called me. He's getting a VA home loan. Luckily, he did take my advice to get a home inspector. And thank God he did, because he found that the home had massive radon issues. In fact, the house had so much radon, it's equivalent of smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day. I kid you not. So that could have caused massive health problems for himself and his family that they would have known about, because radon, you don't see it. And so luckily he saved it. Paying a little bit for a home inspector could possibly save his life. That's kind of crazy. So what does a home inspector do anyway? Home inspector goes and they look at the house and they kind of determine, what are some things that need to be repaired. But oftentimes it's things that are not broken, but are kind of on the verge of breaking. And that's because the obvious repairs, those will get caught other places in the process, or you might look and say, well, gee, this wall, there's a big hole in this wall, but you should fix that. So the home inspector is not really needed for that part, but it's finding those things that are aged and just about to break. It's where it's really beneficial. Now, a home inspector is not the same as the appraiser. And I do want to differentiate this a bit. So the home inspector oftentimes will find things that are on the verge of breaking, but and the appraiser, who actually does the home appraisal, will determine the value of the home. But the big part of the appraiser's job is figuring out, does it meet the guidelines? So if you're going to VA appraisal, does it meet VA guidelines? If it's getting an FHA appraisal, does it meet FHA guidelines, etc. And they will make that determination and find things for that need to get fixed before closing. The home inspector oftentimes will find things that are a little bit longer in the process, a little bit later in the process. So, for example, I had a veteran borrower that they just found a situation where the HVAC unit, it was very worn down, and like you could tell that had been repaired several times, and they recommended a replacement. Now, it wasn't broken, and the appraiser would not have called it, but because the home inspector looked at it and said, you know what, there's not much life